When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm thirsty, I drink. When I feel like saying something, I say it. Madonna. You're listening to the Real Estate Investor Show, episode number 25.
Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
We are super excited to have Wendy Sweet on today's show. Wendy is a principal of Carolina Capital Management. Wendy has been lending money to investors since 2001 as both a conventional lender and hard money lender. Her and her partner have been incredibly successful lending money primarily in North and South Carolina to investors, rehabbers, and builders. On today's show, we discuss so much with Wendy, including what projects would be ideal and not ideal for hard money, how to find the right lender, the number one tip on where to find private money, and building lasting relationships. Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz and
This is Andressa.
how are we doing today, Miss Andressa?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Just want to, I was thinking about how appreciative I was. We just got back, you and I, of a meetup group, our investor meetup group. And
Yes.
I was really present to just thinking about things in the quiet morning when my children are sleeping for the cup of coffee and the quiet, few moments I have. I was thinking about how appreciative I was of the women coming out. They came out last week, and Andressa did an amazing job of leading a mastermind type of meeting where women just were brainstorming, and I was just appreciative of it. I was appreciative of you. You really, went around to all the tables and made sure people were getting something out of it. So, and the community we're developing, like of all women investors. So, for the ladies listening, we have a Facebook group, investor community there, and also local to New Jersey. We were meeting in Cherry Hill. So it's just really inspiring. And women came up to us and just said, thank you. Thank you for putting this together. And it's just nice to hear because, you put a lot of effort into things sometimes.
Right.
And not that I need pats on the back. I kind of do based on my personality.
Of course you do.
I do actually just pat myself on the back. But no, but you appreciate helping others and vice versa. So and you did a really amazing job. Andressa's amazing at getting in people's, not faces in a mean way, but in a
Literally.
great, direct way. And she was able to kind of help women get through some issues and problems in their business.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I got to thank you because you balance things out. Otherwise, we'll be like too direct. It doesn't work. But I think that the most important thing that we want to differentiate when we are doing the mastermind is that it's not a chit chat. And we tend to start chit-chatting and getting like out of the focus. What is really your problem? Hold on, go back, come back to the point. What is really your focus here? And then people start figuring out the answers for their issues basically by themselves. And they look at me and say, I think I just answered my question. I was like, yeah, you got it. It's just that brainstorming, conscious brainstorming, I would say, which differentiates from a chit chat that then leads to something else. And then you're ending the conversation and you're like, okay, it was just an hour of talking about what exactly.
Right.
So we had a very limited time. So we want to make sure that, they got something out of it, really like worth their time going there. And you facilitated beautifully. So thank you for, make things happen with me and with, Jen and Shireen too. So it was great.
Nice group of women. And by the way, we're actually, just to share with the ladies listening, we are starting a pilot, a free pilot. It's totally free, called High Five Real Estate Women Mastermind Group. And Andressa just put it up on our site. So if you go to our site, therealestateinvestor.com, check that out. It might be something to kind of explore. Again, it's going to be free. We're just piloting it. We're actually going to teach women how to mastermind and create a mastermind group. So we're really excited about that, and just check that out if you can. But whether it's through us or whether it's through your local communities, but seek that mastermind out so you can grow and expand. And so we're incredibly excited to have Miss Wendy Sweet on our interview and on our show. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and I'm all into this conversation you're having about women mastermind. I have one as well that I've been helping facilitate, and you're so spot on about keeping people on basically a time limit, because, we women are chatty. God made us that way. We get it. It's part of our emotion, and it adds to our intuition. But keeping them on track is so important, because we also tend to multitask on everything we do. And it is easier, I believe, to, go down all of these little rabbit trails, because they all really flow back into what it is we're focusing on anyway. But it's so much informative, I think, to be around other women, see how successful they are, what they're able to accomplish, see what they did, because we do have so many other things that we juggle.
Yeah.
It's just that, there really isn't a glass ceiling out there. You have to bust through it. It's only there if you allow it to be. And when a female gets out there and, starts her own business and leads a team in this industry, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. You can't make it a gender thing anymore, because women are absolutely able to bust through that ceiling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I now I have like 15 more questions to add to my question. No, we'll jump into your background and how you came to be. But I think what you're saying makes so much sense. I think the area that you're involved in. So we've introduced you, obviously, as we jumped into this interview, people learn a little bit about you, but you've been lending to investors. So you're on the financial side, right, of real estate. And we'll get into hard money in a moment, which I think is something, I want to explore a lot with you. But when it comes to that, right, that type of part of real estate investing, I think it's very male dominated, especially on the financial side and putting deals together. And you're leading your company, and you're a partner in your company. So I'm curious to hear from you about that journey, and maybe you could tie that in as you share a little bit about, how did that even happen? What kind of drew you into real estate, the investment world, and your kind of your background? How did you come to happen?
So, I have been self-employed since 1995. I started out really in the hotel business, in their marketing department. And the company that I was doing their marketing for, they started buying golf courses that were attached to the hotel. So I learned about golf courses and decided that I liked that better than the hotel business. So I started a marketing company for private and semi-private golf courses, helping them put their memberships together and that kind of thing. So, when I was 37, I'm giving my age up because it was really only a couple years ago, I got married and I decided that I was going to stay home and have babies because I was almost 40. And I did give birth at the age of 40, and about, 3 months into it, I was going crazy and decided to just dabble in the mortgage industry because my brother had a net branch. And so I was working a little bit with him. So one of the loans that was the hardest thing to do were the investor loans. All mortgage brokers can do, owner occupied properties, your primary properties. They can do second homes, but an investor loan was always the most difficult to do. So I figured that if I learned that, I'd get all that business. I'd be like shooting fish in a barrel, and started working with a gentleman by the name of Larry Goins. He's a national speaker. You may have heard of him. He had a mortgage company, and I started working with him. He was the president of the local Real Estate Investor Association. So from that, within a month, I had 20 loans out of that group. It truly was like shooting fish in a barrel because there weren't people that were really concentrating on that investor side. So as a mortgage broker, I was able to see who it was that had plenty of money in the bank and who it was that could find houses, because they usually weren't the same people. So the people that were applying for loans didn't have a house, but they had money. The others were applying for loans. They didn't really have money or the credit score to qualify, but they were able to find houses. I started putting those two together. I'd take this guy's IRA and lend it for him to the guy who didn't have any money. And that's really how the hard money started building. So When 2007 hit, I then called myself a recovering mortgage broker, got out of the conventional side and just stuck with the hard money. So the hard money has continued to grow and just really opened me up, not only to being able to lend in that hard money world, but it opened me up to everything that real estate has to offer. I also have a real estate broker's license in both North and South Carolina. I've had that for over 30 years. And although I didn't do that full time, I had that education behind me, the continuing ed that we all love to have to take every year. So I was able to do that, dabbling a little bit of that on the side. But when you're a lender, you touch every phase of real estate, from finding houses to the rehab part of houses. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to release money after people have done the repair work. So you understand the quality of construction. All of those things come together. And then, of course, when you turn around to sell the property, some of the tips, who's buying what, is a garage necessary? Are you over improving for the neighborhood? There's all kinds of things that are wrapped up in it that as a lender, you need to know all these things, because if you're lending your money to these people, you need to make sure that they're making the right move. So the thing about lending, and what I love the most about it, is that I have an opportunity to help even experienced investors get better at what they do, because I'm in so many deals over, a long period of time. Now it's been 18 years at this point. So I'm in all these deals. I get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. I get to see all the mistakes, and I've made plenty myself. So my goal is to train people and keep them from making the same mistakes that I and other people have made. And I look at things like, if for some reason that deal is not approved by a hard money lender or a private money lender, there's got to be a reason for it. And it's because we don't like to put ourselves at risk. So you, Mrs. Borrower or Miss Borrower, should not expose yourself to that either. It's not a deal. And part of what we do is train people to really look at this, get the emotion out of it, because so many people just want to do that first deal, or it's in a really great location, or there's always an excuse of why they really want to do that deal. Well, do the numbers work? It's pretty black and white. And so my goal is to truly train them up, let them think about not only that deal but also is, what is your goal as an investor? Who do you really want to be when you grow up? Why are you even doing this? Do you want to buy and hold? Do you want to flip houses? Do you want to do new construction? Are you interested in multifamily? And why, what's your big why? You trying to get your kids through college? Are you looking for retirement? Are you looking for extra money? What is the reason? And those reasons change throughout their journey in real estate, why you're doing certain things. So it's just, the whole thing is just so exciting for me to see somebody grow, and I call them from little baby investors, full out entrepreneurs. And it's just awesome to see them meet and exceed their goals. And what's really cool about this too is, we don't really target a certain criteria of people. We don't target women. We don't target men. We don't target age groups. That's not what we're looking for, because we just want investors that have their heads on straight. That's what we're trying to do. But what's really funny is our most common borrower is a Black female.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
I think it's really cool, the people that come to us to borrow money. And we do have a lot of women as a whole as borrowers. And so what's really funny to me is that our borrowers are not a male dominated community. The lending side is, but our borrowers are not.
What do you think is the reason for that?
I think that these are people that have discovered that they have to punch through that glass ceiling that they feel like is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to circle back very quick on the point that you made that if you don't lend to somebody, it's because there's something there. But you have people that are very stubborn, right? And they come and say, you know what, that person didn't lend to me. And my question is, okay, what did they see that you're not seeing it? What is wrong with it? Wait, there's a red flag. Something is up with that. Sometimes they are seasonal investors, so they don't understand where the market was and where it is right now. So one thing that I want to ask you, if you could break it down for me, when somebody comes to you, what exactly you want to see based on the numbers?
Well, it's not just the numbers that I'm looking for, but bottom line, we want to see a 640 credit score, number one. And the reason why we say 640 is because we want people to have a plan A and a plan B. If for some reason that house does not sell, I want them to be able to qualify to get refinanced out of my loan. It's 13.75% in interest for your first loan with me. That's not cheap. And that interest can kill you. So if for some reason you can't sell it after you have it fixed up, I want you to be able to be qualified to get out of that and get it into a lower interest rate. Now, people will say, well, you can get a refinance all the way down to 600. Well, yeah, that's probably true. But let's leave some cushion there and be smart about what you're doing. The next thing that we do is we want to make sure that people have money in the bank. And they say, well, how much do I need? Well, you're going to need enough money to make payments to me for at least 6 months. You're going to have enough money in the bank to be able to bring to the closing table. We've got points, an origination fee that we charge. So we want to make sure that you're bringing that. I don't want you to go to a gap funder, somebody who's going to lend you the money for the down payment and lend you money for points. I don't want to see you do that. Will people do that for you? Sure, all the time. But is that a safe place for you to be? Absolutely not. You're really setting yourself up for possible failure, because I say this all the time. Bad things happen to good people all the time. You can do all the homework and the due diligence that would be necessary to make this a successful deal, but you're really only in control about 10% of what's going on around you. You know, the other 90% is the environment, the market, God, whatever's going on out there. You really don't have a whole lot of control over it. And when you're making decisions based on everything going great, you will fail. So we care about how much money they have in the bank. We care about that credit score. We also care about their tax returns or their W-2s, because people still have to live on their own. They still need to buy their own groceries and pay their own mortgage and all those things while they're paying us. So we just want to make sure that they have a handle on what's going on in their life before we lend to them. And it's not because we're afraid to lend to them. We don't want their house, but we have that house as collateral. You know, we know we have that. But what we want to do is we want you to be successful. We don't want to just do one loan for you. We'd love to do them all. And we can't do that if you're out of business. So we want to make sure that what they're doing is smart and safe. So really, those are the things that we're looking for.
That's great. And you know, when it comes to hard money, as someone who's been in the business for so long, Wendy, what is a simple way for women who haven't used hard money or women that are completely new to investing? What's a simple definition of hard money? Because the term gets thrown around a lot. I'm curious to hear from you how you would define it. I mean, I have my own definition. Some of us on Andressa, we're both familiar with it, but I'm curious to hear from you what your definition is of how do women best think of this term hard money?
Sure. And private money is really the same thing. People say, what's the difference between the two? Hard money is really a company that does it. Private money is usually somebody that has a self-directed IRA or cash in the bank that they just want to kind of lend on their own. But I have what I call my third grade definition. It is a short-term, high-interest loan that allows a borrower the opportunity to buy and rehab a property. And when I say high interest, they run 10, 12, 13. I've even seen it at 15%. Short-term, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So what happens is we take the list of repairs that you plan on doing to a house, we give it to an appraiser, and they do an appraisal based on those items being completed. That's called a subject to appraisal. So our company lends up to 70% of that after repaired value. So we'll lend you all the money to buy the house, all the money to fix it up, as long as you're under that 70% loan to value. Now, there are many companies out there that lend money like this. Some will lend up to 65%. I've even seen 75%, which is dangerous in my opinion. But the difference about what we do versus what some other hard money lenders do, they will also make you bring a deposit. So if they say we'll lend up to 70% of the after repaired value, so they'll say we'll lend you 90% of the purchase and 90% of the rehab. Does that make sense?
No.
Does that make sense to you?
No.
So really they're making you bring, so if they say, okay, we'll lend up to 70%, but in that 70%, they're also going to make you bring 10% of the loan amount as a down payment, in addition to the points and any closing costs that will show up from the attorney or title company. So the only thing that means is that you're going to bring more money out of your pocket at the closing table. And it doesn't mean that that's bad. You know, if you have plenty of cash to put down, a lot of times it's better if you're bringing money to put down, because those lenders that require that usually will have a lower interest rate. So there's all kinds of programs out there. You just need to really ask the question of, is there a down payment required with the closing costs? Some people will roll closing costs into the loan amount. But when they do that, it's included into your loan to value. So you're, again, getting a lower amount to borrow because your points are included in that. So there's all kinds of ways for a lender to structure the way they lend money. Some of them will want a piece of the action on the back. Like they might want some sort of 5% equity, 10% equity of whatever your profit is throughout the loan. There are lenders out there that will lend money and not require an interest payment on a monthly basis. That for some people works really well. But you need to remember that, hey, those interest payments are building, and when things didn't go right in this house and there's a payoff, all of your interest is going to be on that payoff, and you're not going to have any profit left over. I like to see the monthly payments. Even I like to pay the monthly payments myself, because it's kind of like a fire lit under my rear end. You know, I've got to get this thing done. And it makes me, it just puts me more in motion knowing that I'm making that payment every month. It hurts, and pain will get me out of this loan.
Yeah. Then we put a little pressure on the GC. Just
That's
a
right.
little.
That's right.
One thing that I wanted to ask is that how flexible are the points and the interest based on the background? I'm assuming that somebody that's their first flip, the terms will be different than somebody that has a long track record. Am I on the point here, or?
Absolutely, you are. And for us, though, the majority of the people, when you do your first loan with us, unless I already know, like, and trust you, you're going to pay the 5 points and 13.75%, because I want to build a relationship with you. This is not, yes, we're a lender, you're the borrower, but we want to make sure that we're more concerned about character. We really are more concerned about character. We do pull background checks on people. It shows us any liens that may be there, but it also shows us a lot about that person's character. And, we've pulled, child predators, and my most incredible one was one that we pulled. A guy had 22 seatbelt violations in a year.
Oh.
So when we asked him about that, he said, well, I just don't like wearing my seatbelt, following the rules. And I'm thinking, I have rules.
Yeah.
What's he got to say about making that payment? And he had great credit, but we didn't do the loan just because of, how do you get caught 22 times? You're driving down the road going, hey, look at me, I've got no seatbelt.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of crazy, but character means everything. So character that, we want to see what that other person's character is like, but we want them to see ours as well. And that's important to us, to really have that relationship. And as we build that relationship, our points and rates go way down.
Makes a lot of sense. And, I love what you're saying about the there's different types of deals, and there's different types of lending, and there's different types of ways to finance this. So if someone says, should I use hard money for this deal? How can you even answer that in and of itself? What type of deal is it? What are the, so there's so many layers, and peeling back the onion, in terms of that, Wendy, what you're saying, it just makes so much sense. I'm curious though, when it comes to hard money, we probably have used hard money. We use much more private money now in terms of our growth of our own business. But sure. I would say we did have experience using hard money, and it did work in certain circumstances with certain deals. When you think about, especially in this market, it's a very competitive market. Deals are projects are costing people more. Right. So, just the nature of the competitive landscape of buying property right now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts around, when is it just not going to work with hard money? And I'm curious to get your insight into that. What, and then the flip side of that question, you can answer however you want to, but what are the most ideal types of projects? So it doesn't mean that, it has to be, you have to tell us exactly where the property is located, but are there any kind of characteristics, if someone was to say, and listening to this, as they become more aware of, okay, how do I finance this deal? Oh, this could be a good hard money project. Are there characteristics? Are there like 3 to 5 things that if they see that or find that could be a good recipe for hard money, and it makes sense financially?
Absolutely. Okay. There's plenty that you should never use hard money, and there's plenty that it's perfect. Hard money is fast. It's a very quick loan. So if speed is important, that's definitely something to consider. If your deal is tight, where your profit is tight, I wouldn't use hard money because your profit's going to go to the interest. If your deal is going to take a longer period of time, either to sell, if it's something if you're in an area where it's taking, 6 to 9 months to get a sale, I probably wouldn't use hard money. I would use hard money if it's more like a 90 days or less to sell a property. There's people that come to us that have really high-end projects where it's, to us that's a $1 million project or a $1.5 million project, that's a single family home that may be a ground-up construction. So if the ground up construction is going to last 12 to 18 months on a house that size. Normally, I would say you absolutely shouldn't use a hard money lender for something like that. However, there aren't a lot of banks out there that are going to lend on something like that. There's not a lot of private money lenders that have that much money for a single property, or they don't want to put themselves at risk for that amount. So something like that, you need to really decipher whether or not that's the best deal. But I can tell you, for us, we do a lot of ground up construction on properties where the construction is a 6-month period, 6 to 8 month period for them to be able to build it and sell it. And, because of where we lend, primarily in the Carolinas, we don't really have heavy snowstorms that will keep us from building for, 3 or 4 months out of the year. We just don't have to deal with that. So hard money would work much better in that case. If I was in Michigan, or Colorado would be another thing that would scare me, being on a hard money loan. If I'm, you have to really time your build correctly if you're going to be in hard money. So really, it's really a case by case basis. The other thing too is most people, when they're experienced enough, they can build their lender list, their private money lender list. And I try to encourage people to really attend those local real estate investor group meetings, because that's the meeting where the people who understand investing, they have money in their self-directed IRAs, and they're the ones sitting at the back of the room just seeing who the movers and shakers are. They want to see who's successful. They're the ones that can lend quickly. Their rates are a little bit lower, and it's so easy if something goes wrong to work it out with them, where they can give you more time or even give you more money to finish a project if you went in a little low. They have a lot of leeway on the things that they're able to do. If you're with a bank or some sort of any kind of financial institution, that kind of goes away. Mm-hmm. And that holds true with a hard money company. How large is that company? Are they more of a local company, or are they regional, or are they national? Is it someone that you're talking to, or are you filling out your application online, doing everything by email and not really building a relationship with them? So not all hard money companies are alike either, but building up a private lender base, I think, is the most important thing for any investor. Another way that I always recommend to people to build that private money base up is to attend the IRA, what do they call them, seminars and meetings that they have. And I'm going to name a few. There's plenty of them that are out there, but I'm going to name a few. Quest IRA, based out of Texas. You've got Camaplan, which is based out of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
You've got American IRA is based out of North Carolina. And the summit that we went to, the real estate summit that Camaplan, put on, I have to tell, or Camaplan and Dave Van Horn. I'm sorry, my names are getting mixed up. Dave Van Horn put that on, but Camaplan was there as well with Carl Fisher.
Yes.
And it's so important to go to events that are sponsored by these IRA companies, because people that go there, guess what they have? They have IRAs that they are trying to place. There's your lender pool right there. And the other thing is, the more you get to know, the more you as an investor get to know about IRAs and how they work, you train people that have IRAs on how they can and cannot invest, and keeping them safe in the deals that they do with you, arm's length transactions and things like that, is an important role that you play for them. So those things are important as well. So the more that you know about IRAs and how they work, and I'm talking about 401ks, HSAs, ESAs, all these things that you can invest by self-directing those funds, the more you know about that, the more you can help the people that have those things be able to lend to you. And that's your best base to be able to borrow from, because they are the most flexible borrower you can have, or flexible lender you can have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're hitting on and you're hitting on a great point of, like, all the different types of money, hard money, you're saying too, in terms of borrowing against, self-directed IRA, all of these types of funding is helpful. It just depends on the project and what's going to make sense. That's a really, I love what you're saying too, just just to follow up, is so many people that are looking for lenders and looking for private money go to these real estate investing networks,
right,
meetings. And you know what? Usually those people are the same people like you, looking for money.
That's right.
But to go to a specific networking meeting that is sponsored by the IRA companies, it's a great recommendation.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, it's a really, really good suggestion. Because that's often, where both Andres and I look for, private.
Right.
So
well, even just yesterday, I basically had a house fall in my lap. I just love when that happens, and it's really close to my office, and I'll just give you the numbers. I offered him $32,000 for the house, and it needs about $50,000 in work, and I can sell it for $150,000. That's a screaming deal, and it'll probably sell within the same day that I put it on the market. It's just really rocking. I don't want to tell you what city because I don't want anybody coming here. So I wanted to do it in my IRA. Well, I lend money out of my IRA on the side to, other people that I know outside of Carolina Hard Money. I have just enough money in one of my IRAs to be able to purchase the house. I don't have the money in that IRA to be able to do the rehab. So, I'm trying to think of ways that I can do that to put it in my IRA. I could add cash to it as well and split it up. And, but again, I'm messing with arm's length transaction, and I just want to make sure I'm keeping everything straight. So I thought, you know what, I'm just not gonna do it in my IRA. I'll just get somebody else's IRA to lend to me, and then I'll use my money to lend to somebody else. So all I did was text somebody that I know from one of these groups that I go to, Financial Friends Network, actually, and I said, I have a deal. I need $80,000. I can sell it for $150,000. I need the money for about 4 months. And he said, okay, where do I send it? I mean, it was that's the kind of relationships that you build when you go to these things. And it's just, I've known this guy now for 2 years, and luckily he knows, likes, and trusts me as well. And if he sent me an email asking me the same thing, I'd do the same for him, because, I have several people like that I can go to, and anybody can do that.
Yeah, it's excellent. Excellent point. In terms of those relationships, we talk a lot about building relationships. I know Andres and I have, done different podcasts on building relationships. What did you, in those 2 years you've known him, now you have a track record, right? You've been in the lending business for many years, but
right.
That relationship isn't 20 years old. And I'm curious, in those 2 years, what specific things did you do to build that relationship? What do you do? What works for you and your own personality? Because, we talk about building relationships and we hear how important it is, and no one would ever disagree with that. But I don't know if people talk about how they build relationships, and some people are better than others, but if you really stop and think about it, you have to cultivate it. It's like a marriage. It's like any relationship, right? So I'm curious, you met this person at an event, you meet, what happened next? I'm curious to understand that a little bit, so the women listening to this can start to also be strategic in their approach.
Yeah, that's a great question. And one word comes to mind: genuine. It has to be genuine. You can't look at this as, ooh, I need to stay in touch with them because I can possibly borrow money from them. Mm-hmm. I look at this like, what can I do to help that person get better and be successful at what they do? This friend that I'm talking about, he is in what he likes to call the real estate business. He invests in mobile homes.
I love that term.
That's his main business. So it turns out, because I go to these different events, I've seen him at several different events. And after I saw him at the first event, I always send out an email, hey, it was great meeting you. And, I was really interested in what you do, and I'd love to learn more about it. I want to learn more about what they're doing, to see is there something that I can do to help them with what they do. Plus, when you're any type of real estate that somebody is dealing with, there's always something special, some type of special negotiation that they do, deal structure that they do, It's a little bit different than what you're used to doing. And you want to learn what that is. Because truly, from the way I see it, every single thing you look at as a deal, it just depends on how you structure it.
Yep.
It just depends on how you structure it. And it may not work for you, but it may work for somebody else. It might fit into their goal and their plan of what they're trying to do. So, if a mobile home comes along that looks like it would be a good deal, and I'm thinking, wow, he would probably like to hear about that. I'm going to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to send this deal over to you that I think you might like. I don't want anything from it. I don't want any kind of referral fee. I don't want anything like that. I want him to get that deal and be successful. Now, what is he going to think about me? What is he going to do because he really sees that I'm interested in his success. So it's just, one step at a time there. When we go to events and we see each other, we always have lunch or we'll have breakfast together or go get a cup of coffee or, it slowly builds. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right. So you're touching on a very good point that you don't build a relationship, let's say, with a hard money lender the day that I got a deal. Now let me build a relationship in 15 minutes so we can get this deal there. So start building the relationship when you still don't have a deal so you can understand what they're looking for. I know that my lenders, when I send them a deal, it's like spot on based on their criteria already, so they can give me an answer in a couple of hours.
Right.
But it makes things much easier when you already have that relationship built prior of having a deal in place.
Exactly. The other thing too that's really interesting is I get I have a lot of contacts that would not borrow money from me. They already have their lending base built. They're borrowing, low interest from banks or, they've got all of that set up. But I still want to maintain that relationship with them because they send me referrals all the time. And the other thing that really helps is anytime I get an opportunity to speak at a small subgroup meeting or our local RIA meeting or, something like this, I want to be able to do that and share what I know because there's people listening that may not ever borrow money from me, but they may refer me to other people. And that's really what's important is just kind of getting your name out there and letting people know what it is that you do, whether you're a lender, whether you're an investor, whether you're wholesaling properties, whether you're rehabbing properties. Other people need to know what you do so that they can refer business to you, whether it's a house, a lender, a contractor, whatever that might be.
I love what you're saying because you're taking the whole networking 101, see how you could help other people to a different level by saying you have to be interested in people's success. That's
Absolutely.
Very different than how can I help you?
Right.
I think that's such a great way to think of really building relationships is if you want to be good at building relationships, which you and I, we all three of us know on this call is everything in this business.
Right.
You got to be genuinely interested in people's success.
That's right.
And I think that's, I love that. I love that you said that and how you said it because it's really taking the whole, how can I help you to a different level. You're actually not helping them. You're actually helping, you're aiding in their success. Different.
That's right. That's right.
I love that. And if you could do that, you're going to build relationships very quickly with people.
Well, and two, these people that, any deal you do, you're going to learn from it. And when you have relationships with people like this, I like to call them my brain trust too, because there are certain people that I reach out to get advice from on moves that I'm making, things that I'm doing. That's really, really, really important as well. You've heard that your net worth is your net work.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And also that, the 5 people that are closest to you, are they bringing you up or are they pulling you down? So if you're helping other people be successful, aren't they bringing you up too as they become successful? It's a win-win for everybody. I really I'm not a competitive person. I'm the middle child of 5. And so, that's just a crazy place to be when you're a kid, and competition is everywhere. I am not attracted to competition. I'm competitive with myself. I want to be better in everything that I do and improve at what I do. But I don't want to be in competition with someone else. Other lenders, when I meet other lenders, I want to embrace them. I want to know them. I want to know what they're doing that's good. I want to know what mistakes they've made. And I want to share the same thing with them. Because there are lenders out there that we do lending with. We might, pick up a $2 million deal. We may not have the other $1 million to do it with. And I've got various other people that I can call and say, hey, you want to do this project together? So and I refer people that may not be a good borrower for us to other lenders, and they do the same for us. So you take the competitive nature out and replace it with, how can I help you be successful?
Yeah, that's so empowering. And so you're the middle, I got to go back to this. You're the middle of 5 children.
Yeah.
And what was the boys, girls? What was
Okay, 2 boys.
Okay.
Then me, and then a little sister, a little brother. And my oldest brother, Bill, is my business partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I brought him in about, I guess it's been about 5 years. It has been. It's been 5 years. When things, I was a little one-woman show, and things really started expanding. When things started coming back, 2010, 2011, things really started expanding, and I couldn't do it all by myself. And he's the one that had the lending background to begin with. And he comes from a commercial end as well. So I thought, well, who better to share with than my bro? I can, I can trust him. I know I can trust him. And, if we don't agree, we can just tell our mother and she'll work it out for us. So, we've always, all the siblings get along really well. And I'm just blessed to have him as my business partner on this.
Great.
So, we're going to have you, share where women can learn more about what you're up to. But if you had to tell the ladies listening to this as they grow their own businesses, what do you think? And you've grown your business, 20 plus years, right? So what one thing, if they had to do one thing to, grow their business, what should they do?
Okay. I'm going to say 2 things.
Okay. You could do 2 things.
Okay.
I'll let you.
So the number one thing is an attitude. Do not be afraid to fail. And if you're not failing at something, you're not trying hard enough. Because failure is the best learning experience you will ever have. I fail all the time. I fail all the time. My goal is to fail forward and to learn from what it is that I did. What could I have done differently? And brush myself off, pull up my big girl panties and move forward. That's really what that is. The other thing that I would say is you must invest in yourself. The hardest thing for me to do, and I remember very clearly, it was 2011, and I was invited to go to a mastermind group that was $12,000, and they had to pry it from me from my cold dead hands. I was like, I can't spend that much money on something like this. I'm still a member of that mastermind group. It's called the Collective Genius. The top real estate people in the country are in that mastermind, and I can attribute my growth spurt directly back to that mastermind. All of the other masterminds that I'm involved in, I can contribute it or attribute it back to that original mastermind from other people that I've met in that mastermind. It's just investing in yourself, investing in your own education and getting better, not only at what it is that you do, but you and who you are. And, understand, we all have different skill sets. and we all lack certain skill sets. Well, is it better for you to fix that skill set, or is it better for you to hire somebody to take that on so that you can improve in what you're already really good at?
Check.
Because you're just getting better and better. You know, it's that thing where, and I tell people this all the time, sometimes 80% has to be good enough. Let somebody else be the 80% while you strive to be the 100 at what you're really good at. Should you really, I stink at social media stuff. I'm really bad at that. I have 3 incredible people on my team that are great at it. Do I want to know more about it? Sure. But ain't nobody got time for that. There are so many other things that I'm already good at that I want to get better at, that I love and enjoy and am passionate about. That I don't need to know all the details about the social media and how it works, and who's updating my LinkedIn, and all of that stuff. That's boring to me. But to somebody else, that's exciting. So I want to invest in myself and learn even more about real estate and lending and structuring deals, and that stuff just makes me excited. Learning about trusts, living trust, irrevocable trust, how can I put houses in land trust, all those little things, how they work. That's exciting for me. I want to know that. So investing in every little thing that has anything to do in growing myself is what I want to do. And I would recommend to people that, and understand too, Uncle Sam pays for half of it. If you are investing in yourself, doing continuing education, doing a mastermind, whatever it is that you're learning about, that's investing in your business. And, that's deductible. So take advantage of what's out there. And I learned all that because I invested in a tax class. Learning more about taxes and real estate investing through your tax, how you can increase that. In fact, if you've ever had an opportunity to sit in front of John Hyre for any particular reason, I would highly recommend him. His last name is Hyre. He is like the tax king. But there's just so many people out there that are so full of knowledge, and getting in front of them is so important.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, Wendy. Your passion and enthusiasm is contagious. So, I don't know if I want to go take a tax class, but you make so many. I know, right? It actually, saving. I like that. Maybe that's what the focus of the class was.
There we go.
But yeah, it's just it's wonderful what you're saying, and I think it's that investing in yourself to have a greater future. So that's really encouraging. So thank you for sharing that. Where can listeners learn more about you? We got to get you on the show again, so we'll make that happen. But where can the women listening learn more about your company and you, and just kind of reach out to you?
We have a website called carolinahardmoney.com. We also do a podcast called the Alternative Investor Podcast. So you can try that out as well. And if you really just Google Wendy Sweet, there's a ton of webinars and videos and things like that are out there. We have a Facebook page, carolinahardmoney.com as well. And or you can just email me, Wendy@carolinahardmoney.com. I'll hook you up.
There we go. And all of this information, all the websites and an amazing tips that Wendy shared with us today is going to be on the show notes. So you can go there and click on the link, so you will have all that information. Awesome. Now I'm going to transition very quickly to the fabulous 3 questions. Are you ready, Wendy?
I am.
All right. So what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
Okay. The most, gosh, there's so many.
Right? It's hard for me.
I have to say that The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, I'm going to pull it up on my Audible real quick. The Richest Man Who Ever Lived by Stephen Scott is his last name, is the most awesome book I've ever read. And it is based on King Solomon.
Wow.
But it's absolutely business oriented and just really kind of takes it all and lifts it up. It's awesome. Highly recommend it.
Great. The second question is, what's the most powerful routine you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Well, the balance part comes from at 6:30 every morning I work out. And I'm telling you, I have to fight myself every morning to do it. It's not, I keep thinking, well, this is going to get easier. Well, it doesn't. But getting my sweat moving and my blood flowing is so important to getting my brain moving. And doing it first thing in the morning for me is really, really important. And then also having time alone to pray, in my case, but just to contemplate, what's going on in your life, the direction you want to be in, and thinking about other people. And again, what I might be able to do to pray for them or help them or reach out to them in any way. Those two things are really important for me.
Great. Tony Robbins, in an event that I went, he said, I don't negotiate with my brain. In the morning, I go inside. I think he takes like a very cold shower and get inside an iced pool.
That's insane.
So, right, it is. So he's like, when my brain starts saying, oh, maybe today it's not going to be a good, time for you to do. He's like, I don't negotiate. I just go. So it's more aligned to what you're saying. The third question is, which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Oh, that is a great question. My grandmother. She was not a businesswoman. She was an awesome mother and the most incredible grandmother anybody could ever ask for. But she was completely non-judgmental, gentle, and she listened better than anybody I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. And just encouraging, calm. I always go back and think about her. Whenever I need solace, I just think of, what would grandma do? I should have one of those. What would grandma do?
That's awesome. Yeah, you're making me think of, I have a picture of my grandmother over on my little area here. And I'm like, looking at that picture, you're making me think of her. So
she actually started, she was from Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia, although I live in the South. She actually was the first person to start Meals on Wheels. Have you heard of Meals on Wheels?
Yes. I live in Philly, so I do.
Oh, yay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, she started that. It was at the Lighthouse. I have no idea where that is, but I know it's somewhere in Bucks County.
Wow,
and,
that's really neat.
And now it's a national organization. Kind of cool.
That's a wonderful organization. They brought meals to my grandparents for many years.
Oh, neat.
I would interact with them and just thank them. Like, thank you.
That's neat.
They do a really neat service. Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. She wasn't a businesswoman, but she was quite entrepreneurial.
That's right. And she'd be 111 if she were alive today.
Wow. Wendy, thank you so much for being on our show. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know our listeners did, and just appreciate all your insight, from, tactics and strategy to just motivation and inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy it. I think that we can go on and on if we continue because there's so many, points that you brought it up about, the ceiling, the importance of failing. And I think that those are all subjects that we don't talk too much, but it's so important for us to succeed. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you. And I look forward to coming back.
Yes. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.